Are you looking for answers to the unknown? Welcome to Live with Medium Lisa Phoenix and step into the magical presence of the metaphysical realm. Lisa will share the wisdom and musings from her own experiences, have intriguing conversations with other mediums and healers, in addition to exploring a wide array of topics and teachings on intuitive and mediumship development. Lisa will be taking your calls and inviting your friends and loved ones in the spirit world to share their stories with us. Raise your awareness as you are reunited on the level of love, and let's go live with Medium Lisa Phoenix.
Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. It's a wonderful day in Southern California. Welcome to the Live with Lisa Phoenix radio show. I'm Lisa Phoenix, your host, a medium and energy intuitive. My show is all about healing, mediumship, and energy management. And my special guest this morning is Barbara Schiffman, hypnotherapist, life and soul balance coach, advanced Akashic teacher and practitioner, in addition to a wide array of other services which we will hear all about today. We're going to talk about a variety of topics this morning, including the Akashic Records. The station is currently working on the call-in feature for the show, so for now, if you want to share some of your own challenges or ask questions about your own specific journey, please go to my Facebook page, Lisa Phoenix Live, and post your questions, and we will do our best to address them while we're on the air. If you want further information about the Live Lisa Phoenix radio show, please visit my page on the OMTimes radio network at Lisa-Phoenix. I would love it if you would go to my website, lisaphoenix.net, and sign up for my Intuitive Insights newsletter, which will also add you to my mailing list. And please like me on Facebook at Lisa Phoenix Live. Now, let's talk about Barbara. As I mentioned earlier, Barbara Schiffman is a life and soul balance coach, clinical hypnotherapist, tarot soul coach, soul keys hypnosis therapist, and a certified advanced Akashic Records teacher practitioner affiliated with Linda Howe Center for Akashic Studies. Now, welcome, Barbara. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
I can totally hear you.
Good.
So I want to, right before we really get into things, I want to go ahead and ask you, the best place to reach you, is that at www.yourlifeandsoul.com?
Yes, that's my website, and people can message me there.
Great. And where's the best? Can they email you?
They can also email me there at barbara@yourlifeandsoul.com.
Awesome. And there's a bunch of different things that you have happening, and you've got some meetups, you've got your website, and Your Life and Soul, is that where they should start?
Yes, everything is hooked into there, and that's probably the best place to go to start with.
Perfect. Now, can you just, for all of us out there, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
It was a very circuitous route, like most of our journeys are. I've spent the last 40 or so years in the entertainment industry as a script consultant, working with fictional stories to help inspire people. That some of them get made into movies, but in working with the writers of them, they all change and evolve the writers through the process of writing them. And I've been a coach for people in other aspects of the entertainment industry as a career coach. And I transitioned into life coaching about 20 years ago, and then found myself evolving further into soul coaching, spiritual coaching, in addition to that, because for me it's all connected. Our lives are stories in the mind of God, as I think of it, and we're each writing them as we go, and each one is important, and each one is unique, and each one is perfect as it is, with all of its challenges, as any good movie or TV show or fictional story has, and helping us move forward in them as best we can and staying in balance is part of my mission. So I ended up finding my way to many different healing modalities, including hypnotherapy, and ultimately to working with the Akashic Records in 2009. And then I've been teaching that ever since and moving forward in many other modalities since then, always guided by my soul. It's always in the passenger seat, if not the driver's seat, helping steer me in the direction that I'm going.
Wonderful. And can we start out? I know that a lot more people are learning about what the Akashic Records are, but you're one of the ones from way back, who got involved in this. And aren't you're Linda's first practitioner in Los Angeles? Is that correct?
In Los Angeles, yes. I started teaching about the Akashic Records to others in 2010, as soon as I finished Linda Howe's year-long teacher training course that she held that year. And I started working with her the previous year when I found her book, How to Read the Akashic Records.
Gotcha.
But I've always known about them. I don't know when I first was aware of them, but it was through the work of Edgar Cayce,
right,
which many people have heard about. He was a medical intuitive before we called people that. And he also did readings, soul readings, past life readings, health readings under deep hypnosis. So he was doing this work between 1910 and 1945, which is when he died, which was over 100 years ago when you think about it. And he was tuning into what he said were the Akashic Records, which is why we use that term when people say, I want to do what he did. And the Akashic Records is one label for what Carl Jung talked about as the collective consciousness, and what quantum physicists now talk about is the unified field. It's all the same stuff. It's our soul level. It's that dimension of consciousness that we all have a birthright to tune into. And Akashic Records gives it a sense of having everything recorded somewhere. Everything we do, hear, see, feel, say, gets energetically recorded somewhere through this lifetime and all or any others. And being able to tune into that and get guidance from that is now what more of us are doing, or what many people who do what's termed psychic or intuitive work or related have always been doing, and tuning into the part of that big cosmic library that's the part that they resonate with, because there's many rooms in that cosmic library, or the cosmic cloud, as I like to think of it.
Gotcha. Now, we're coming into a commercial break here, Barbara, so please stay tuned, and we will be right back. You're listening to OMTimes, live with Lisa Phoenix and my special guest, Barbara Schiffman. We'll be right back.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millisers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Dr. Kevin here, and I want to invite you every Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, to join me on The Dr. Kevin Show, where we have a diversity of guests who help you step outside the box, behind the curtain, and see what a load of crap is going on in the world today, so you have more information with which to make better decisions. We'll see you there. Namaste.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to OMTimes Radio, live with Lisa Phoenix and my special guest, Barbara Schiffman. Barbara, I wanted to ask you, what is the difference? I believe there is a difference between working with the Akashic records and then just working with intuition and psychic dimensions. Can you share that with us?
Sure. I'll give you my experience of that, and also through using the pathway prayer process, which is Linda Howe's process.
Right.
I've come to explore that, and in the classes that I teach, we actually do an exercise on that and take something we want guidance on into our intuition, and then the same thing into our Akashic records to see the similarities and differences. And the way I like to think of it is that the Akashic records, as a metaphor, is like a big library. And our intuition is one bookshelf or corner of one of the rooms in the library. It's within that. It's often more focused on what's going on in this lifetime, and sometimes organized, the way some of my students have said, about the what to do, whereas the Akashic records is the why, the bigger picture, the soul level perspective. I talk about the records in a nutshell as the energetic archive of our soul's journey through all lifetimes.
Okay.
And how each of our souls is a thread in the big tapestry of all souls. We're all part of one, but a different thread in each of them. And our thread contains all our experiences in this lifetime, plus any past lifetimes. And what we're doing now will shape any future lifetimes. They are not written in stone. They're all shaped and written as we go. So the intuition is part of it, but the Akashic records are even bigger.
Gotcha. Now, and a lot of people, I know a lot of people look to the Akashic records for past life stuff, which I know is a wonderful thing, but there's other stuff that the Akashic records help us with, correct?
Well, the Akashic records, again, is an energetic archive. And when we tune into it, we're tuning into that soul dimension.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard, at least for me, to not see past life influences or get a sense of or information on past life influences in the patterns that we're working on, because we're working on patterns over multiple lifetimes. And we now have an opportunity in this lifetime to do what I talk about as heal, resolve, and evolve whatever patterns we're working on, and to do it more consciously, because more of us are being called to be more conscious about this. We're evolving at the consciousness dimension, since most of our physical survival needs are taken care of in most parts of the world, certainly in the United States. So now we're interested in that intuitive, that psychic, that soul dimension that is similar to dreams and memories. You know, we can't hold it and touch it, but it exists somewhere and we can work with it. So working with that is part of the process, and looking at the patterns we're working on and being able to get guidance and direction about them from the soul level is incredibly empowering, and also reminds us that no matter what's happening, everything's really, as Linda terms it, whole, complete, and good. And I haven't found any way to talk about it that's better than that.
Gotcha. No, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I do want to throw in here for people that you do have some classes coming up where you teach this. Can you share with everybody what they are, when they are, and how? What's the best way to sign up?
Sure. I actually teach the beginning practitioner class that Linda Howe designed. I'm teaching the next one this coming weekend in Burbank, November 14th and 15th. I'll be teaching it again starting in 2016 at the end of February, and I teach it every 2 to 3 months. And then I also teach advanced tools, which go further into past life power tools, as I like to think of them, where we actually dialogue with past lives. We don't go into hypnosis. I'm a hypnotherapist. I do that in hypnotherapy work, and it's a different process. But we can dialogue with our past lives and do healing and clearing in that process, as well as working with our ancestral connections. So past lives are our connections to ourself in all our other lifetimes. Our ancestral connections are our connections, energetic and emotional, to everyone we're connected to in this lifetime and all other lifetimes. A really big group.
No, yes. And, I get a lot of that in my own mediumship work, where we find that people are breaking patterns and healing a whole generation themselves.
Yes.
Yes.
It's really exciting. And all of these things are starting to overlap and dovetail with each other. And it's like having toolboxes with multiple tools in them and using the right tool or combinations of tools as needed. So that if all you have is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail, is how they say it.
Right.
For me, having a toolbox, and for me the records provides the environment, the toolboxes in which all my other tools seem to fit. And I use them and tune into them and draw from them based on the guidance I get when I'm doing work with people. So it all works together.
Wonderful. And you had said, too, because we had been talking earlier, that this enhances other modalities.
That's what I've found, that it provides an environment in which other modalities work better. I'll share just briefly a way that came to me. I had a student who is a Science of Mind practitioner, and I like to attend a Science of Mind center near me that I love very much, where I met this person. And she wanted to take my class, and she said, how would the Akashic Records work with Science of Mind, affirmative prayer? That's the type of work that she does as a Science of Mind practitioner. So I went into my records and I asked, how would this work together? And let's see if I can remember it properly, because it's a wonderful analogy. What I got was that the Akashic Records provides an environment in which other modalities can work better. It provides nurturing soil and healing sun and rain, so that the seeds planted by the other modalities can grow deeper roots and blossom more beautifully, was pretty much what was said to me verbatim. It was that strong that I remember it. And I thought, how wonderful. And I found that when I'm working in the records doing a one-on-one session with someone, that very often their records, because when I'm working with someone with their permission, I tune into their records, and I'm like the intermediary. I do not interpret or add on what things mean, but I convey exactly what I get. And sometimes their records say to me, because I get things in words and pictures and feelings, very multiple sensory.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people just get one sense. In fact, my teacher, Linda Howe, just gets a knowing. She doesn't get all the bells and whistles that some of her students do, she said, and I get all of them. And sometimes they say, do this little hypnosis release process with a person. Have them imagine a balloon and put in everything they want to release with their breath and let it go. Or do a tarot reading, get out your tarot cards and have them pick one that relates to their issue and, this and that and the next thing. So I let their records guide me as to what tools that are in my toolbox already, not things I'm not familiar with and not on the same wavelength with, to have me work with them with those tools within the records. And what we find is that it really goes deeper and things shift and release more quickly, because every time we tune into our soul, we're aligning with it. It's like getting a chiropractic alignment with it and being in that space that we can see this life as part of our soul's journey and hopefully get more support, more soul support by asking for it, instead of just waiting for it to happen. And all of that happens anytime we tune into the records.
That's wonderful. And speaking of tools, I wanted to discuss a little bit with you today about your life and soul balance. As you said, it's all connected. Mm-hmm. And I also want to talk, because we're coming into a challenging time with the holidays and everything. And so I was kind of hoping you could talk to us a little bit about some tools that we can utilize to get through it.
Great. And this time of the year is always an interesting one, because with all the work that I've done, all the trainings I've done that are life and soul related, our relationships with people are the toughest part of life, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah.
And, life would be great except for all those pesky people.
Right.
So the family members whom we often connect with at this time of the year, the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays, or we may have lost people we loved at different times of this year or previously, and they come to mind again at this time of the year. And all of that triggers emotions, thoughts and feelings and regrets and all of those kinds of things. Or it pushes those buttons and makes us feel like a kid again when we go for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And being able to see that staying in balance is not having everything perfect, but being able to go with the flow and be resilient and bounce back to center using whatever tools you can for yourself when you get pushed off. I like to think of it as you may have had one as a kid, those blow-up clowns that you push down and it bounces back up.
Gotcha. I never had one of those, but I do know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, you've probably seen them. It's, they get pushed down, they bounce back up. So being aware that those buttons are going to get pushed when we go to these family situations. I'm going to visit my daughter and her husband and their twin boys who are a year and a half at Christmas.
Wow.
And I adore my daughter, and we've had some really interesting karmic history that I don't talk about with her. It's not necessary. It's for me to know how I feel about it and not her. Right. But I'm sure some of my buttons will get pushed while I'm there, and I have to keep in mind how to stay centered. One of the tools I like to use, just to keep, give people something to work with, is using the 4 elements. I use those a lot as balance tools. It's body, mind, heart, and soul, air, earth, water, and fire. And sometimes when our emotions get, triggered and pushed, going outside and taking a walk, hopefully in the sunshine, not the snow like I will be experiencing when I visit her in Montana.
Gotcha.
Is a good thing. Being able to read something spiritual, to stop for a few moments and just tune in and center and meditate if you're a meditator, to do something to center yourself using, the 4 elements in some fashion is a really quick and easy way to do that. And I'm trying to think of what one of the water ones would be. I mean, sometimes just, taking a nice warm bath.
Yeah.
Or lighting a candle. Mm-hmm. Or eating some, healthy food, which is the earth physical part of things, can really make a difference because they all have vibration. And when we look at them that way and we're doing it consciously, it actually has impact.
Yes. And we are right again at a commercial break. And you're listening to OMTimes Radio, Lisa Phoenix Live, and my special guest, Barbara Schiffman. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hey ladies, do you want to have that good hair day feeling all the time? Gentlemen, would you want your special someone to have that glow, letting you know she's feeling completely satisfied? This feeling and that glow can be yours by embracing your sexual power. So join me, Rachel Kenley, award-winning romance author, on the O-Spot. The O-Spot will guide you to that peak with guest interviews, book discussions, and conversations on the thrills of sexual empowerment. Put the zing back in your life. Come up and see me sometime on the O-Spot, live on Hump Day at 10 p.m. Eastern.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go? Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back, everybody. We're on OMTimes Radio, live with Lisa Phoenix and my special guest, Barbara Schiffman. Barbara, I know we're talking about the holidays right now, but since you're talking about, utilizing the 4 elements, I also wanted you to talk a little bit about, I know you have a brilliant e-course on the dailyom.com that's energized your life with the 4 elements.
Yes, thank you. It's actually I think it's 7-part e-course where each lesson focuses on a different one of the 4 elements, and you find ways to bring more of that into your life and to see what makes you feel good. Because when we're not feeling good, we forget those things we can use that make us feel better. And by exploring them when we're not in a crisis mode and making a list of them and finding which ones work for us, whether, as an earth experience, it can be taking a walk, it can be exercising, it can be petting your cat, it can be getting a massage, whatever that is, and making a list as you go of those things that work for you so that when you're thrown off balance, you can bring yourself back using that resilience focus with something that already works for you.
Right.
And the Daily course is really fun. It was actually inspired by many things I've done in the past using the 4 elements. And I'm going to be doing a fun project as part of a new venture of mine, a coloring journal on the 4 elements. We'll be having that out probably in January.
Oh, how wonderful. Well, I do want to talk about your new venture, but as far as I'm thinking maybe some of those people want to take your e-course on the 4 elements right now before they're thick into the holiday season, and to kind of help them.
That would be great. And since it's 7 steps, doing it now as they're going through the holidays would be a great idea. Thank you for thinking of that. And they can check that out at dailyom.com.
Great. Now, do you have any other tips for people during this crazy kind of time of the holidays? Because I love the holidays. It is my favorite, and I'm a real big Christmas person. I love Christmas. But I do know that it is challenging. And it's funny because we said earlier that, it would be great if it weren't for all these people. Yet on the other side of that coin, we kind of need all these people,
Well, and people are really what life is about. Our interactions with people is how we evolve at the soul level. Mm-hmm. And all these people that are critical to us, our family members by birth, our friends and fellow students and teachers and inspirations by choice, they're all part of our soul group. We are traveling companions from lifetime to lifetime, playing different roles in different lifetimes. Uh-huh. And maybe having a sense of that, if people might keep that in mind, can help them look at someone who is driving them crazy now and be able to see their soul, not just their human personality, which is like the role they're playing in this lifetime. When we think of each of us being I like to think of it like a theatrical repertory company where there's lots of actors and they change roles from play to play.
Right.
And sometimes they're the hero and sometimes they're the villain and sometimes they're the silly uncle and sometimes they're the annoying nephew, and we change roles. But at the soul level, it's the actor, and we're all equal at that level and part of the whole and connected to each other and helping each other learn our lessons and helping each other learn more about who we are. One of the concepts that Linda Howe uses in her Healing Through the Akashic Records work, which is a weekend class I also teach, I'll be doing that next spring, is giving other people in our lives the benefit of the doubt, that they're doing things to make themselves feel better, not necessarily to hurt us.
Right.
This is a really hard concept for most of us to get our minds around. But being able to step back a second and know that we're always doing our best, or we would do it better, and maybe everybody else is too, can help us take a breath and step back and respond instead of react by having our buttons pushed when we're dealing with people. And this, again, is all very much staying in balance, because everything that happens in our life is evolving us, especially the challenges, especially those people who are the biggest thorns in our side. They are often our greatest teachers.
Yes, I so much agree. And even in my own life, a lot of times I find that when I'm reacting to something, or if my button's getting pushed, it's not necessarily about the person that's in front of me. It's more about the pattern, or a past pattern or something.
Absolutely. And it's getting your attention now so you can do it differently. This is the fun thing for me of looking at things from an Akashic perspective. We are getting a chance to do things differently in this lifetime. And over in this lifetime, I have some people in my life who are some of my cosmic dance partners. And each time they come around, and again, this is my consciousness level evolving as I become more aware of things from these ways, being able to make different choices and do it differently, and notice that maybe they are pushing my buttons, but not as much. I'm handling it differently. That's what I get to notice.
Right. And I know it's a common phrase, but when people use that phrase about keeping your side of the street clean, I find with myself sometimes it's kind of like if I deal with myself when my button gets pushed instead of focusing on the other party, I find that a lot of times those situations and my whole relationship ends up changing with that other person, because the energy is not the same.
Exactly. Oh, I'm so glad you noticed that.
Yeah. And I just think that if we can look at ourselves, do you know what I mean? And what's going on within us. Now, of course, there's still, people that I find sometimes it's not the healthiest to possibly be around. And you have to make those choices as well,
Well, that's where taking care of yourself is important. I work with a lot of people who are wonderful at taking care of everyone else and being sensitive to everyone else. I also work with a lot of people who are highly sensitive people who really are overloaded by everybody else's energy.
Right.
And again, finding ways to stay in balance no matter what's going on is really part of our higher evolution in this lifetime. And we don't always do it perfectly. Sometimes it gets a little messy.
Right.
But for me, being willing to clean up that mess faster, to not have to be right all the time and not have to know all the answers all the time helps a lot. Maybe that's just part of getting older. I'm now in my 60s and feel like I'm just getting started. But I have a perspective I did not have earlier in this lifetime. And yet being able to know, again, that I'm doing the best I can all the time really helps me be able to take it things day by day.
Yes. And again, I do want to pull in here now because I want to talk about, some of the reason why we don't do things, as well as we can or as well as we are able sometimes is due to there's so much stress, in the world right now.
Well, we are on what I call, I coined this term about 10 years ago, infowhelm.
Yeah.
We are actually getting more information every day than our great-grandparents got 100 years ago in a whole year.
So true.
And getting off of our computers, getting off of our phones for a little bit, going out in nature. Again, this is where, for me, the 4 elements have been really helpful as balancing tools so that we can have the best of our technology, but get back in touch with natural cycles. We're actually now in the renewal cycle of the year. We're going from fall, which is harvest energy, into winter, which is renewal, when the ground kind of replenishes itself so we can plant new seeds in the spring and grow them in the summer. and looking at things from a seasonal perspective, which is where some of my 4 elements work really is fun to do, really can help us be in those organic cycles and not just plugged in 24/7 to the electrical world, because we're organic beings. We are not machines.
Right. And then, so tell us about this new venture with the coloring books.
Oh, the coloring books is very fun, and it brings in some multimedia. A friend of mine introduced me to this, and I'm more of a word person. I like to write books with words and do guided meditations with words, and suddenly doing things with pictures and coloring is creating some brain balance. It's being prescribed. Coloring in coloring books is for mindfulness, for PTSD, in fact, for being able to do some brain balance, because it uses those right brain activities and creates new synapses by coloring in pictures someone else has drawn. And I can't draw at all, but I always used to color as a kid. So now creating a series of coloring journals, which also include guided meditations. You get a link in the book to guided meditations that go with the theme of the book, is really fun, because the focusing and the choosing the colors and the interactive nature of coloring books, or like our coloring journals, which include some prompted journaling based on the theme of the book, take us out of that info realm and help us tune more inside and help us take a little respite. I actually go to and am starting to create some coloring groups where people get together and actually color at the same time. And often we talk, sometimes we don't, but it gives us a chance to tune in, just like when people go and do meditation. This is active meditation. It's not just closing your eyes and floating away. It's actually focusing and choosing colors and looking at patterns and having fun and coming up with something really pretty, or at least something over time, since some of the pictures in many books are very complex and take hours to complete. Yes. I like the simple ones. We have a mix of them in our coloring journals, but I like the simpler ones that I can finish in 1 or 2, half-hour or hour sittings instead of that take weeks to do. But it stimulates all of that. And it's something you can also do with your family. I mean, go to the dollar store and get some of those fun coloring books and crayons and take them along for Thanksgiving. And if people start to get, at each other's nerves, invite the kids and the adults and the grandparents to color with you. You'll be surprised how much fun it will be and how it shifts the energy.
Yes, and I also think there was a time back earlier years where parents did used to color with their children, and we don't see that so much anymore.
Well, we're doing it again.
Well, we'll be right back. You're listening to OMTimes Radio, live with Lisa Phoenix and my special guest, Barbara Schiffman. Stay tuned.
The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Come heal yourself. What is healing? Healing is nothing but connecting to your all-knowing higher self that already has solutions to all your problems and is always there to guide you. Through this show, we help you to connect with that you are and help you realize the innate potential you have to heal every aspect of your life. So come heal yourself every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern, with your host, Monica Goyal. Namaste.
Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
The truth is, you can't can't change the world if you're broke. I know. I tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back, everybody. You're on OMTimes Radio, live with Lisa Phoenix and my special guest, Barbara Schiffman. Barbara, you also have a book out on Amazon, don't you? Or a workbook or something?
I have several. I have Living in Balance for Boomers, which I'm delighted to say reviewers have said is not just for baby boomers, which uses the 4 elements as balance tools. And it's an ebook, so people can get that right away. I also have a book on working with the Akashic Records for writing and other creative endeavors called The Akashic Muse. And it's actually my creativity workshop in a book, and also has audios of the exercises that can go along with it. And that's also on Amazon. Plus, I've had chapters in, I think, 8 anthologies so far. One of them on screenwriting, coming from my background as a script consultant, and all the rest on life and or soul work and balance. And I have a new book coming out this month, which I'm really excited about, which is a collaboration of 200 authors through Soulful Life Sanctuary. It's called 365 Ways to Connect with Your Soul. And I've got 3 chapters in there. It's coming out on Amazon November 17th. And I'm looking forward to getting copies and giving it to all my friends for Christmas. It's a wonderful book.
Oh, how wonderful. That's amazing. And I do want to, you also offer, don't you offer private sessions and coaching and all that other kind of stuff?
I do, and I work with people all over the world through Skype or phone, or I teach and do readings in person here in Los Angeles. So I love to work with people in all those ways, either one-on-one, and I do Akashic sessions that way, as well as bringing in other tools, hypnotherapy, and also tarot from an energy point of view, not a predictive point of view, but using tarot as energy mirrors for our soul. So I love to work with people and customize our sessions based on what they need to and want to be working on and what tools are appropriate for that.
Gotcha. Now, we don't have too much time left, but I did want to touch on asking you to talk about the art and science of taking leaps of faith.
Oh, sure. Again, one of my favorite topics. And I developed also an e-course on that called Taking Your Leap of Faith, I think it's called, which is also on dailyohm.com. And my friend Camille Leon and I have blended our different experiences. She used to take people skydiving and scuba diving, and then I've done hypnotherapy and inner work with people, and we blended that. And I found in exploring this that there are 6 stages to taking leaps of faith. They don't all take the same amount of time, but when we take a leap, when we do something we haven't done before, so it's brand new for us, at least in this lifetime, it's scary. And taking the leap is actually stage 3, not stage 6. Because stage 6 is the aftermath, the ripples, the kind of getting grounded again and seeing how you've changed, because you do. You change at the cellular level when you do something you haven't done before. And then saying, oh my God, I survived. How do I do more of that? And then if I survived and I could do it in this part of life, how do I do it in other parts of life? So our Daily Om course also covers that and all the different stages of that. And the first stage is resistance. It's, I don't want to do this, but I'm being either pulled or called into doing this. So then we go to stage 2, which is, what's it going to take? If I'm going to do this thing, what's it going to take? That's the research, the practical part. And taking the leap is often the fastest. Sometimes it's just changing your mind or doing something differently or trying the thing you haven't done before. And we're doing this all the time in all parts of our life. This is part of our soul callings, our spiritual evolution. And as we can have more fun with it, it gets easier.
Yeah. Now, how can people have more fun with it?
By looking at things as something new instead of something painful.
Gotcha.
When we're in resistance, it feels painful. When it's like, all right, let's see what this is going to take. How can I have fun with this? My mantra for the last decade or so has become, if it's not fun, why bother?
Right.
If it doesn't feel good, taste good, look like it might be fun, why even bother considering it? And this can relate to any part of life. So looking at how we can bring more vitamin fun, as I think of it, into our life, because we're all depleted in vitamin fun. We're working so hard. I don't know about you, but I meet people, and I assume you do too, who are working at being spiritual.
Yes. It's like,
instead
really?
of lightening up. And enlightenment is about lightening up. Abraham Hicks talks about it. All the spiritual teachers I appreciate talk about this. It's about lightening up and enjoying our lives. And knowing we are writing our story as we go is how I like to think of it as a script and story consultant. We're writing our story. How can we write it so it's a fun story? And at the end of our life, we've done the things we wanted to do, or at least some of them, and those we didn't get to do, maybe we'll get a chance next time.
Yes, that's a really good way to look at it, But I do know that people, when you talk about taking a leap of faith and et cetera, it causes a little bit of fear.
It should. We've never done it before. We don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
It's that thing. It's like stage fright. Is stage fright excitement or fear? It depends on how you frame it, is how those of us who do coaching or hypnotherapy about those things look at it. And if it's not creating butterflies in the tummy, then it's too familiar. You've done it before. But the first time you do something, it is always new. As adults, we forget that when we were kids, everything was new. Now we think we need to be an expert, even if we've never done it before. And that's not true.
Gotcha. Now, how can people, as far as taking a leap of faith, how can they start? I'm going to say start small so that they can.
Things, yeah. Oh, I love this one. Do things they haven't done before. Eat foods they've never eaten. Go to places they haven't gone. Take a day and just get in the car and see where you wind up and don't have a destination. Go down a different street on your way to work than the street you normally go down. Get out of the rut. Look at things with new eyes. Simple things like that make a huge difference. And it builds your muscle. It's an inner muscle of doing new things that you haven't done before, but this does not need to be painful. And if you've done something or taken a leap somewhere in your life in the past and another one comes up, I've had this over and over again, and you survived the last one, the odds you're going to survive the next one are big. And we get bigger, better challenges each and every time as we're growing and evolving. I like to think of them. I wrote a chapter in the 365 Ways to Connect with Your Soul book on how our challenges create life pearls. They're the sand in our proverbial oyster. We don't get the pearl without the sand.
Right.
And the more it irritates and robs the oyster, the bigger and more precious the pearl. So suddenly challenges aren't so awful. Sometimes they are what we need to create that life pearl.
Yes, and I really think that's a great thing for people just to try to remember as they're going through life in their different individual situations.
We like to have things be easy, but we don't evolve very much when things are easy. I like to, in the Akashic Records work, point out that many people are having a vacation life, and to other people it looks like everything's easy, but we don't know what they worked on in previous lives. We don't know how much challenge they had or how they worked hard to evolve or what they had to deal with. And this time they came back to have a lifetime, because being on Earth is very fun. That's where we get to eat chocolate cake and play with our pets and have sex and go places. We don't do that in the all energy all the time space,
Right.
And so we like coming to Earth. There's nothing wrong with it. But maybe we came to have a vacation this lifetime, whereas some of us came to evolve further, and we do that through the challenges. We do that through through creating that pearl from the sand. And sometimes we have to look at our life as that evolutionary process, and each day gives us a chance to do things differently.
Yeah, and I like the way you say that. You know, some people, it's kind of like you never judge somebody else's journey, you know?
Well, I know a lot of well-known, wealthy, talented people in Hollywood, and they have challenges other people don't know about. You don't go through this life without them. That's part of what we're here to work through. And if we can do it with a higher consciousness and more joy, even when things are tough, this is the hard part. One of the things I've also written about in another book, Happiness Awaits You, that's on Amazon, another anthology, is about being a joy spreader. And I'll just leave your people with the job of being a joy spreader if they want to take it on. I would love this.
Okay.
And being and smiling at people in elevators. That's how I started doing it. You don't have to say a word. You just spread joy. But you have to be at least 100% in that state yourself to be able to properly spread it.
Right.
So if we can get ourselves there, even when things are challenging, and just give somebody a smile, look them in the eyes, pass that along from your heart vibrationally, it ripples and it lifts them up. And then the next person they connect with, they're a little bit more joyful and they pass it along even when they don't know it. So I invite all of your listeners to become joy spreaders, especially in this challenging holiday time of year. And spread joy wherever you go, just with a smile or a kind word or an appreciation, being in that space of gratitude. Because the more we do that, the more we lift everything up. And as we're feeding more peace and joy into the Akashic records, into that unified field, it keeps that balance between fear and peace. And it keeps us all moving forward and not having those things that seem fearful show up in our lives, and often have more of those things that are joyful show up.
Yes, how brilliantly said. Barbara, thank you so much for being on the show this morning, and thanks for helping all of us expand our awareness a little bit more today. Again, you guys can reach Barbara at www.yourlifeandsoul.com. I want to once again thank all you listeners out there for hanging out with us this morning. If you want further information about the Live with Lisa Phoenix show, just reach me on the OMTimes Radio Network. Live with Lisa Phoenix is on every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 10 a.m. Pacific Time. So please tune in back up with us next week. Thank you again, Barbara. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.